All right, class. Today we're going to be working on gravity and magnetism. Now, when you think about gravity, one of the biggest things that you probably think about is the solar system. And so we have a model here. And so we have the sun and we have the 9 planets. Now, technically Pluto's no longer a planet, but we'll get into that later. So you have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Now, all these planets slowly rotate around the sun. Now, why do you think they keep rotating around the sun? Why don't they just drift off into outer space? That's right, gravity. Gravity keeps the planets close to the sun. So the sun has gravitational pull and it's pulling all the planets towards it. And so the planets just keep rotating around the sun, but they never just drift off into space because of the gravitational pull that the Earth has. Now, Earth, we don't have it on the model here, but Earth also has the moon that rotates around it, and because the Earth has gravitational pull. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. All right, so just remember that the sun has gravitational pull, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and it's holding the planets so that they orbit and continue to move around the sun, all right, and they don't just drift off into space. And then the same thing with Earth has the moon that rotates around it, and Jupiter and Saturn, they have moons that are, that orbit around those planets as well. So just remember gravity, and the other thing is magnetism. Now, magnetism is very similar to gravity, all right, but it's a little different. And just like gravity, it's pulling the planets in and it's pulling things down, while magnetism, the magnet is pulled to the board because this board is made of metal, okay? So when I put the magnet, it is attracted to it, and you can hear it snap onto the board because it's being attracted to it. And so let's go ahead and take a look at some of our vocabulary terms. So the first one we have is magnetic, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to write this in your journal, so make sure you have your journal out. And if something is magnetic, all right, it has the ability to be attracted by a magnet or acquire the ability to be a magnetic itself. So if something is magnetic, all right, a piece of metal, it is attracted to a magnet. And so this top of this paint can is metal, all right, and so the magnet is attracted to it. All right, and now this paint can itself is not magnetic, but it does have the ability to become magnetic. We could, we won't go into that, but you can turn this into a magnet if you had the right tools. All right, so magnetic is the ability to attract, to be attracted by a magnet or acquire the ability to be magnetic. The next one is gravity. And if you need to pause the video so you can write down these terms, go ahead and pause it and make sure you get these written in your journal. All right, so gravity, the force that attracts things towards the center of the earth or towards the center of any other object. So I'm standing on the ground because gravity is holding me down. If we did not have gravity, I could just jump around and float all over the place. But gravity is holding me down to the ground, all right? And the same thing with planet Earth is being held in orbit around the sun because of gravity. So it doesn't have to be just Earth, all right? Other planets, other things have gravitational pull. So gravity, the force that attracts things towards the center of the Earth or towards the center of any other object. All right, the next one, a force. A force is a push or a pull on an object to make it move. So every day there is a force on you holding you down to the ground. If there wasn't a gravitational pull pulling you down, you would drift off into outer space. So that's a force that's holding us down on Earth. The same with this magnet, all right? There is a force attracting it to the board. It's pulling it to the board. And we have some little nuts and bolts here, all right? And if I put it on the magnet, and you can see right here, it gets, it's attracted to it, and so it sticks on there. And so you can see that that magnet, all right, sticks to it, or the metal sticks to the magnet. All right, our next one is weight, the heaviness of a person or a thing, okay? So how heavy something is. So you might ask someone, how much do they weigh, all right? Well, that's their weight. Now, This can change depending on the amount of gravity. I may weigh 200 pounds on Earth, but if I go to the moon, I probably only weigh about 40, 50 pounds, because it's how much gravity is pulling me down, what force it is pulling me down. Okay, so when you step onto a scale, it's the amount that you're being pulled down to the ground, that force, all right, of gravity pulling you down. Okay, so weight is how heavy a person or an object is. All right, we got a couple more terms here. All right, now repel, a force that pushes away. So if something repels, okay, and we're going to look at the magnets in just a second here. Now, I have these two magnets. They attract to the board, all right, they stick to the board. Now, what do you think is going to happen when I try to put the magnets together? Think about that for a minute. You can pause the video if you need to. All right, do they attract together? Yeah, they attract together. Now, what if I flip it around and go the other way? Do they attract together anymore? All right, so even if I try to slam them together, they keep pushing apart, okay? Magnets have two different poles, okay? So there's a north pole and a south pole, kind of like on Earth. We have a north pole and a south pole. These, it's two north poles, all right? They're trying to be, you know, I'm trying to put two north poles together. It doesn't work. If I flip it over and this is the south pole, the south and the north attract. So opposites attract, but the same repel each other. Okay, so it will not go together. I can push as hard as I want, and it's just going to keep bouncing away, and it's going to keep, you know, moving away from each other. It's repelling it. So if I flip it around, so now north and south attract, but north and north do not attract. And if I flip both of them over to south and south, they still do not attract. I have to have one be the opposite side for them to attract. Okay, and we're going to look at attract. So attract, a force that pulls together. Okay, so they're pulling together. Or repel, a force that pushes away. So we have the two different forces. You can either attract and pull together, or it can push away. And our last term here is magnetic pole, and that's what we were just talking about with the different poles. So you have a north pole and a south pole, and so the opposites attract. So the north attracts the south, but the north will repel another north. So you have, so you have some different, same thing here with these magnets, all right? It's going to push away, but if I flip it over, then they attract, all right? Because there's a north and a south in every magnet. One side is going to be north, one side is going to be south, okay? Now, on the board, this board is not magnetic itself, okay? This is made of iron, so I can put the magnet either way. I can flip it around and it will attract no matter which way I put it, because the board itself is not the magnet. This is the magnet that's attracting to the board, okay? So we have the magnets on there. Now let's try a metal. I got some tasty Pepsi here. Now, does this attract to it? No, because this is aluminum. Aluminum is not magnetic, all right? It cannot be a magnet. How about a water bottle, all right? Is this gonna attract, is this gonna stick? Nope, it's not gonna stick. I can't get it to attract because this is plastic. Plastic is not magnetic. And up here on the top, we have brick, all right? My magnet isn't gonna stick, it's just gonna slide down, okay? And I have a piece of cardboard here in the middle. It's not gonna attract to that. It has to be metal, okay? So I can put it on there. It attracts to the metal. And the three types of metal, all right, that will attract, all right, or that can be magnetic are iron, cobalt, and nickel. So those are the three types of metal that can be magnetic or will attract a magnet. So we went over a lot real quickly, okay? But you can always go back and rewatch the video if you need to. So gravity and magnetism, they're very similar in ways, but they're still different. So they have, all right, magnets, north and south attract, north and north repel, okay? Repel and attract, okay? And then we have Gravitational pull, all right, gravity, the sun has gravity. All the planets orbit around the sun and stay in that orbit because of that gravitational pull, pulling them to the center of the universe, all right, and pulling them to the center. Same thing with the different planets that have moons around them. Those moons stay orbiting around that planet because of that gravitational pull, pulling them to the center. And we're standing on Earth because of gravity. It's pulling us down to the ground. It's keeping us here so we don't just float off into outer space. So go back and review the video if you have, if you're not quite sure about anything. Make sure you have all of these definitions written in your journal, and then you can go ahead and move on to the activity.